Hi guys, welcome to Monday, April 6th. I hope your first week went well. I know I've been getting emails and you guys have been a little bit stressed out, but please don't worry, don't have any anxiety. You're doing great. I promise. We're all struggling through this first week. We're all struggling through this online learning concept. So struggling is okay. We're all learning as we go along. So keep up the good work and just keep on checking on this daily schedule right here, which is in your Google Classroom. And if you're watching this video now, you should obviously know where it is because this is where the links to my videos are. So let's start with the fact that your Unit 1 project is due today in Google Classroom, so make sure you're getting that to me. And remember that all the documents should be in there on how you should be doing it. Remember that you only have each unit you have a different type of creative project you should be doing. But that the reflection is the key point. So if we scroll back here, I have the expectations, just the assignment expectations overall, then the options that you get to choose that you have to have choose a different option each unit, and then your expectations for your reflection is right here. So this is what you're going through. This is the main grade for this. So you have to take your time and work through it and really analyze your project and how it works for your unit projects. So let's go back to today. Oops. Okay. So that is due by the end of the day today, so please get that into me. If you drew a picture and you don't have a scanner, take a picture with your phone and just upload it onto your computer that way. Or I think you guys have a camera on your phone, or not on your phone, on your, you can take a picture with your computer camera. So take a picture that way. Obviously, if you did art on the internet, like electric art or whatever it's called, you can download it and upload it onto the thing with your reflection. Writing, add that document along with your reflection, or it can be in the same document. And so in PowerPoint, add it. You can add multiple things when you're turning in an assignment, so just keep on adding that. If you ever struggle with turning these things into Google Classroom, either let me know and I can do an instruction video, or I can tell you other ways to turn it in, alright? So that is due by the end of today. Next thing, daily vocabulary for today is the word panic. Alright, panic, which comes from the god Pan, who was kind of like a woodland god, and the word comes from panic because he would cause chaos and fear by kind of going invisible and creating noises and, you know, different scenarios in the woods that would scare people. And so panic, the word panic comes from that chaos and fear that he created. So panic, extreme fear. Okay. So we're starting Unit 2 today. Exciting. This is when we're really getting into how we're going to be analyzing really myths and what myths become. And overall what myths are, honestly, because the hero's journey is in almost every single myth other than creation myths. And so from now on, you'll see parts of the hero's journey in every film we watch and every reading that we do. We'll also be starting to watch films this week. I will be recording it like this. Hopefully YouTube allows me. I don't think I'm breaking any rules because it's educational and my face will be in the corner here. And I'll also be pausing and making notes of these things, so hopefully it doesn't get taken down. If they do, we'll work out something else different in the future. But for right now, let's just cross our fingers and hope it works because I'll be pausing it multiple times and it'll only be in like 15-minute increments. So here's hoping. So yeah, let's get into the hero's journey. This is a nice slideshow, one that a previous instructor created. but it is a very useful tool to kind of go over what the hero's journey is and compare it to actually a really classic movie, which is based off of a book as well, but The Wizard of Oz. Most of you have seen it. If not, I highly recommend it. But it will go through the hero's journey and the stages of the hero's journey really well. So let's get into it. Obviously, this is drawn from the Psychology of Carl G. Jung and the Mythic Studies of Joseph Campbell and described by Christopher Vogler. Joseph Campbell is the most popular or recognizable name, I think, in this whole little section because he writes a lot of mythology books, especially Greek and Roman mythology. So a lot of books that we've read, I don't think any that I have here actually, but the main myth book that's usually used for this kind of classes, Joseph Campbell has probably written. So let's get into it. So words from the wizard. That's just an old drawing, picture of the wizard from The Wizard of Oz, I think, or the quote-unquote wizard. Remember, and at the end he ends up not being the wizard. Sorry, there's spoilers in this video. If you haven't watched The Wizard of Oz, you're gonna have some spoilers. So the stages. The ordinary world, the call to adventure, the refusal of the call, the mentor, crossing the threshold, test allies and enemies, approach the inmost cave, the ordeal, reward, the road back, resurrection, and return with the elixir. So, all of these are in most every movie. Even if it's not a hero, quote unquote, there's always a main character who kind of goes through a hero's journey a lot of times. Like I said, it won't be in every film you see, and not all these parts will always be in every film or piece of literature, but most every thing, all the main points are covered, especially when you are reading mythology. Or when you are just reading a piece of literature, the author almost always makes sure that all of these stages are in here at some point or another. But films can be a little more flexible. So let's start with the ordinary world. So this is Dorothy, and she's in the ordinary world, which is shown because it's in this kind of weird color thing. I forget the word for it. I know there's a word for it. Before she goes into Oz and everything's all in color. So it's the world in which the hero has spent his or her life. It's the normal world. It's where everything is just ordinary, regular, day-to-day. Most stories take the hero out of the ordinary, mundane world and bring them into an unfamiliar world. Special, mythical, fantastic, alien, juxtaposed. Ordinary world and going out of that ordinary world doesn't always mean that they leave the place that they started at. A lot of times it can be just that their ordinary world is affected by something. So when, for instance, when they say alien, something like an alien can come in and affect their ordinary world, effectively making their world, which could be in the same place, but making it more fantastical. Alright, so Dorothy's ordinary world is she lives on a farm in Kansas. She lives with her Auntie Em and her Uncle Henry, and she sings in the farmyard and distracts the workers, has a little dog named Toto. So, call to adventure, that's the second step. The hero is presented with a problem, challenge, or adventure to undertake. He or she can no longer remain in the comfort of the ordinary world. So that is pretty self-explanatory. It's when the main part of the plot of whatever it is, the literature or the film, introduces what the main storyline is going to be about, what they're going to face. So Dorothy's dilemma, or her call to adventure: Toto has gotten into trouble. Miss Gulch demands action and threatens the family. Security, and Toto escapes from Mrs. Gulch. And then Dorothy decides to run away from her problems. The call to adventure could also be when her house is spinning and she lands in Oz. That could be a call to adventure. She could, leaving that house could be considered her call to adventure as well. And if she would have decided, hey, I'm just going to stay in this house and hopefully maybe things will go back to normal, that could be considered part of step 3, which is refusal of the call, or the reluctant hero. Fear. The hero balks at the threshold of adventure by refusing the call or expressing reluctance. He or she thinks of turning back. So this is the reason why they set it up this way is instead of her refusal of the call, because they want to show a refusal. And at one point she does run away, so that could be considered call of action, and then going into Dorothy questioning her actions or refusing the call or being reluctant. Once she is running away, she comes along Professor Marvel, a traveling showman, and he recognizes Dorothy as running away from home, and Dorothy listens as Professor Marvel uses his crystal ball to let her know that someone is very sad. Dorothy decides to return to the farm. So while she's not refusing a call per se, she is reluctant in her first kind of escape from her ordinary world. So the mentor, the one with the wisdom. The bestowing relationship is very symbolic in literature. It represents a bond, parent-child, doctor-patient, coach-player, teacher-student, the omnipotent spirit, man. The mentor's function is to prepare the hero to face the unknown. So in this case, it's Professor Marvel, at least that's how they seem to have it. But she can also, a lot of times there could be, even in this movie, in Wizard of Oz, there can be multiple mentors. So that's why they question, so who is Dorothy's mentor? It could be Professor Marvel because he encourages her to go home. It can be Glinda, the good witch, right here, because she tells her to follow the yellow brick road when she gets into Oz. The wizard, who tells her to get the witch's broom in order to follow his instructions, and once she does, he'll let her come, he'll get her home or whatever. So what is advice is good advice. Just because they're the mentor doesn't always mean that they're giving good advice. It kind of more means that they're leading them or continuing to lead them in their journey, per se. And that's why the wizard telling her to get the witch's broom, he just wants the witch's broom to prove that she's killed the witch, in a way. And he doesn't really need the witch's broom. And so he's kind of making her do things that she might not ordinarily do, which is sending her on that adventure. And then Glinda telling her to follow the yellow brick road, pretty good advice because that yellow brick road does eventually lead her home. And then Professor Marvel, who encourages her to go home, is also pretty solid advice. So one that kind of gives their version of wisdom, which helps the hero move on in their journey. So crossing the threshold. The hero commits to the adventure and fully enters the special world. For the first time, by crossing the first threshold, he or she agrees to face the consequences of dealing with challenge posed in the call to action. So they're going through the first threshold, they're committing to taking on whatever they're taking on to become the hero of the story, basically. So Dorothy's first threshold is moving forward, getting out of her house, exploring this new world, and then following the brick road, which is supposed to lead her to Oz and the wizard to get her home, but it also helps her learn a bit about herself. So test allies and enemies. So once across the threshold, the hero naturally encounters new challenges and makes allies and enemies, and begins to learn the rules of the special world. The hero reacts under stress and begins to change and develop. So the tests that Dorothy faces, how does she get apples? Because at one point they're hungry, so they have to get apples from this magical tree who do not want to give them apples. Fetch the broom. When the wizard says, hey, if you want to go home, get me the witch's broom. That's a test of her strength, but also a test to see if she can actually get this part of her task done. I only have a few more seconds on this length of the video, so I'm just going to stop it right here and then go on to part 2. Alright? Pick up right here after in the next one. So go to part 2 now.